If this is your last moment on earth, and this is all the time that you have left, would you repent?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، صلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. If you look at one of the things that as Muslims we're proud of, Muslims do not drink intoxicants. Muslims do not do drugs. However, when Islam came to Arabia, the Arabs were among the nations that adored intoxications. They used to enjoy drinking wine. Not only that, they used to encourage one another to drink wine. And why is that? Because they used to think that drinking wine is a source of inspiration. They used to associate drinking wine to being generous. And that is why generosity in Arabic is al-karam. And the tree of grapes is known as al-karm. So they used to think and believe that by drinking you become generous. By drinking you become courageous. And this is how the Arabs used to be. When the Quran was revealed to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it came to abolish drinking intoxicants. And this came over 3 stages. The first, at the beginning, it stated that drinking has some benefits to it, but it has a great deal of sins, and the disadvantages, the cons, far exceed the advantages and the pros. So it was forbidden. This was mentioned in an ayah or in a verse when being associated with gambling. So there are benefits in wine, as Allah Azza wa Jalla tells us. However, there is a great deal of sins and disadvantages as well. And in Islam you have to weigh the pros and cons. And due to the fact that the cons are far greater than the pros, Islam tells us that at the beginning, this is the case. The pros are far less than the cons. That was stage 1. So some of the Muslims continued to drink. The second stage, when Allah Azza wa Jalla told the believers that you should not pray, you should not offer your salat, the mandatory 5 prayers, you should not offer them in the state of intoxication. As if Allah is telling them that the only time you are able to drink is between Isha and Fajr, between night prayer and the break of dawn prayer, because the interval is quite long. Not that Allah is encouraging them to drink, but Allah is telling them that you may drink a little bit, but do not get into the state of intoxication when you pray, because then your prayer would not be valid. And then, after the whole community was prepared for it, only few men used to drink still. The third stage was implemented when Allah Azza wa Jalla told them that it is an abomination, it is something that is abhorred and hated by Allah Azza wa Jalla, so refrain from it. And they immediately, that is the companions, the Muslims, immediately stopped drinking and never tasted it afterwards. Nowadays, look at people who drink, or even look at those who do drugs. Why do they do these things. As far as drinking, some would say that they do it because of the taste. It tastes good. Some do it because it makes them sociable. It makes them outgoing. They meet people, they get out of their shell, and they find themselves encouraged to do things, if not intoxicated, would not be able to do it. Some do it because of their peer pressure, and everyone around them is drinking, so they must do it. Even just for a social drink, not necessary to be intoxicated. Unfortunately, there are those who do it simply to get wasted. There are people who drink for the sake of being completely drunk and intoxicated. It takes them away from their problems and worries. It puts them in a state of mind, even if it's temporary, but they feel that they're able not to look into their lives as a saddened reality. Why do people do drugs? Same thing, peer pressure. They want to blend in. A lot of those who do drugs do it because if they don't, their friends would consider them to be unsophisticated. They would consider them to spoil parties. So they do drugs so that everyone considers them to be cool. If you look at the sad reality, you will find that people do drugs, you'll find people consume intoxicants because it is like a shrine. They turn to and they go to escape from their sad reality. They just want to escape their lives, and it gives them a window of opportunity, 4 to 5, 6 hours for them to forget what they are living. Do nations support their people to consume intoxicants or to do drugs? Alcohol was banned in the United States, I believe in the early 30s of the previous century, the 20th century. But it was banned only for 2 or 3 years. It was deemed illegal. So people turned into moonshine and manufacturing it illegally. And there were great fines, prison sentences, etc. But people continued to do it. So in 2 or 3 years' time, they came back to the old regulations of allowing it to be served. Drugs, on the other hand, all nations fight it. Everyone is against it. Until recently, there are countries now that legalize the consumption of marijuana. And Allah knows what will happen in the future. Will there come a day when they would legalize cocaine or heroin or meth or crack or whatever? Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. But if you ask anyone who does this, how many times have you suffered from your intoxication? They will give you tens of embarrassing stories that happened to them in their lives. Some of them would even go further to tell you about the crimes they've committed while being in that wasted state. Why are you doing it then? You will find women confessing of being raped while being in the case of or in the state of intoxication. You'll find men committing or committed a number of crimes that they are unable to rectify, and that they regret until today. Men hitting on their sisters, hitting on their mothers while being intoxicated. What is the cause of this? You are the one who is putting your brain on a plate and giving it to Satan. Don't look about the health issues. But if you ask the non-Muslim doctors, they will tell you that doing drugs and consuming alcohol is bad for your health. Then Islam gives you the solution to cleanse and purify your system. Not only from halal things as we do in Ramadan when we fast and we do not eat or drink for a certain period of the day, but also from the haram and from the things that are harmful to you. Islam fights this type of addiction because you have to have a grip on your own willpower and you have to do all of this to please the Creator of the heavens and the earth. And my advice to you is, isn't it time for you to listen to your heart and think and use your brains and quit whatever you're doing in regards of consuming intoxicants or doing drugs? I pray to Allah Azza wa Jal that you're successful in doing this. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
فلم ترى وهي ترسخ في سجود